everyone's bio. Uh, hold technical difficulty here. Instead, I'm going to ask panelists to introduce yourself, the work that you do, how it benefits HBCUs, and how it connects. So, and I'm going to start off with David Paget, who is Dr. David Paget, who was mentioned in our last session by Dr. Brandon Jones from NSF. And I do know that Dr. Paget is doing work that has the potential, it's already connecting many HBCUs, has the potential to connect many more, and even go out potentially globally. So, Dr. Paget, if you will start us off.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm going to share my screen here.
And you do want to tell them
okay.
who you are and where you're based.
Yes, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I'm Dr. David A. Paget, Associate Professor of Geography at Tennessee State University and Director of the Geographic Information Sciences Lab. And so my background is in physical geography, hydrogeography, and geographic information systems, and also atmospheric science. I'm going to share with you today a project that I've been working on for the last 6 years. It's primarily funded by NASA, and it's based or hosted for now at the university's Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado. And that is the Globe HBCU Informal Education Institution Collaborative, a community university model for closing the racial STEM achievement gap. And I'll talk about what Globe is for those of you who are not familiar in a few moments. So what we're doing is using the Globe program as a conduit to improve science education at the K through 12 level. And so that is what Globe is. It's global learning and observation to benefit the environment. Now, we know that HBCUs produce 50% of African-American K through 12 teachers. So we see that that's fertile ground to produce science teachers. My institution, Tennessee State University, at the time of this PowerPoint slide, produces more teachers than any other HBCU. However, very few of them choose to become science teachers. And so we hope to change that through this initiative, because we believe that if you can see it, you can be it. And so if we have more Black science teachers, especially at K through 5, those children will see someone who looks like them doing math, chemistry, biology, and who knows, even geoscience. So the Globe program has been around just about 25 years. I'm a Globe partner and trainer. And so in my role, I train teachers in how to teach hands-on science lessons. At least that's the hope. The lessons are all based upon environmental science, looking at the atmosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere, and other portions of the earth. And so we also train pre-service teachers. Really, the pre-service teacher Globe certification is an innovation that somewhat originated at Tennessee State University. So what we hope to do is expose our teachers or our education majors to the Globe protocols for teaching science before they graduate. And so they're already, I don't want to use the word indoctrinated, but they're already exposed to the opportunity or the option of being a science teacher before they leave. we are trying to get them to, even in their student teaching, incorporate some hands-on lessons. This project is part of a larger mission, specifically the Globe Mission Earth project that involves many other partner institutions. And we're all involved in the mission of using NASA assets to improve science education. NASA's missions have, as you all know, become more privatized. You know, there's no more space shuttle, but NASA's satellites produce massive amounts of data. And so the goal of our mission here is to use those data in an educational setting, specifically HBCU classrooms and affiliated K through 12 institutions. And so this is just the birth of the collaborative in 2020. And so there are several teams. Our team is just one of them. And so these are the original members of the HBCU Informal Education Institution Collaborative. Why IEIs? Well, during the 20 plus years I've been involved in Globe and the 6 years I've been involved with this project, we've noticed that there are educators outside of the traditional education system that give us a lot more flexibility. So for instance, as you can see, we're working with Ms. Donnell Wilkins in the Green Door Initiative in Detroit. Earlier this spring, we engaged with young people aged 13 to 18 as part of their climate organizers leading Detroit program. And so it was a Saturday program where we had these young people learning about climate change, doing hands-on Globe experiments and data collection. And, you know, in a formal educational setting, a typical public school, Saturday is just not an option. But working with informal education institutions, that opens up weekends, gets us into after school programs. And we've also found that families and parents have greater opportunities to be involved in informal education institutions, such as the West Atlanta Watershed Alliance and the Legacy Bridges STEM Academy. So our goal is to, of course, create a replicable model for first exposing pre-service teachers to Globe and hopefully convincing them to become science teachers, and then collaborate with informal education institutions in communities. And so those IEIs can also be training grounds for some of our pre-service teachers and also in-service teachers that we found. And a lot of the informal education institutions have very experienced teachers. For example, in Detroit, we had a woman there who had been a science teacher in Detroit for 20 years and then moved on to an informal setting. And we found just anecdotally that the children seemed a lot more engaged with an individual who is in their community and who looks like them and teaches science. And so we are using Globe as a ready-to-go curriculum that not only engages the students in hands-on project-based learning, but also exposes them to the world. Globe is literally a global program. There are over 30,000 Globe schools all over the world. So a child in Detroit could sample temperatures and clouds and other, maybe water in Detroit, and then go onto the Globe website's data visualization system and compare his readings or his results to a child at a school in Accra, Ghana, in pretty much real time, which opens students' eyes up, says, hey, I've been watching a lot of Tarzan and Lion King. This Africa I'm seeing now, these kids who look just like me are doing the same thing. Now I have a different vision of Africa than I would get from the Lion King, a bunch of animals, and I don't even want to talk about Tarzan. So that's our goal, is to, anybody out there who wants to join our collaborative, if you're an HBCU or you're part of a informal education institution, just get in touch with me. I'll put my information in the chat. I have to put this slide because this is where the money comes from. And hope to hear from some of you all soon if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Paget. And if people have questions, I believe they can put those in the chat as well. And with Africa mentioned, I think it's appropriate that we move from Tennessee to Burkina Faso and bring up Clark Atlanta's own Dr. Myron Williams, who will be presenting from Ouagadougou.
Great. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Myron Williams. I'm Associate Professor of Chemistry at Clark Atlanta, but I'm actually currently on a Fulbright Fellowship working at the International Institute for Water and Environmental Engineering in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, West Africa. The institute is referred to as 2IE or Dozier. So if I mention that, that's what I'm referring to. And what I want to talk about is a project that I've been sort of working on for 3 or 4 years. And I really hope to expand the intensity of that work while I'm here. I myself decided to go to graduate school when I was traveling in Africa after my undergrad at Howard. And I really believe that trying to make a sort of tighter links between HBCUs and African institutions and African students will have enormous value for institutions in both components. So I just want to start with, in the West, most urban areas, the project is waste to energy via household scale biogas digesters with an African focus. And in the West, most urban areas have large waste processing facilities, such as that's shown here, that detoxify waste and also produce energy that will usually run the plant and sometimes be exported as gas or electricity into the grid. These are large government-owned and very expensive facilities. What my project focuses on is sort of smaller scale facilities that individuals or communities can actually engage. And I was afraid to show the images in this slide. One might think of it potentially as sort of poverty porn. But I think one of the things that it's important to do is to actually recognize issues that need solutions, and in order to be able to find good scientific and rational approaches to solving them. So the need for waste to energy initiatives in Africa, especially in urban areas, had to do with the fact that household waste tend to end up in urban drainage and sewage systems. Biodegradable waste contribute to smell and spread of disease. Non-biodegradable waste, such as plastics, end up clogging up those sewer areas and often cause flooding. Now, that is compounded with the problem of transporting waste in Africa, where the transportation infrastructure is not always the best, which is also a problem or a barrier to energy delivery to homes. On the other hand, there are also other problems associated with cooking with wood, charcoal, or dung, which are typically used either in urban or rural areas in Africa, that both causes indoor pollution and respiratory illness. The picture in the bottom right here is inside of a kitchen that used sort of charcoal and dung, and you can see it's packed with soot that the people inside the kitchen would be inhaling. In addition, using wood or charcoal contributes to loss of trees and desertification and adds to the global CO2 burden. So there are 3 categories of problems that this at the level that we're trying to focus on, that I hope we can think about sort of solutions to. And part of the idea also is the idea that small scale is beautiful. Rather than trying to do waste disposal at a single facility, the idea is to make household scale digesters available to people. It has the advantages of disposing of household organic waste. It's on site, so it minimizes the amount of transportation required for both the waste and for fuel. And it provides a green biofuel, a clean green biofuel cooking gas. In addition, it provides liquid fertilizer that can be used in gardens, and in many instances is currently being sold as fertilizer for farmers. This is a process that takes place through anaerobic digestion, and it's a process that is widely used in Asia. There are millions and millions of digesters in India and China, but relatively unknown in sub-Saharan Africa. The digesters would tend to be relatively expensive for the typical household. And then there's a third problem that I'm not going to focus on today, talking about how digesters are a little bit ticklish and often lose productivity. Some of the kind of proposed solutions that I'm going to try to engage people across disciplines and sort of sectors to engage on this have to do with making the process a bit more widely known, engaging social and cultural workers in promotion so that there's educational opportunities and in appropriate cultural context and language. Secondly, to try to engage with local people to engineer and build robust and low-cost digesters. That promotes industry, makes the units reparable locally, and should bring costs down as well. So one project that I began really quite recently, the collaboration with the Department of Engineering at Hbcu University in Ghana, where we've got a faculty person, Heather Beam, who will be working with me and 2 students on capstone projects. These are engineering students, to design and hopefully build small-scale digesters with local materials or components that will sort of assist with their management, their use. There are 3 main types of small-scale digesters that are used in the literature. The fixed dome, which is probably the most common type, usually concrete or masonry. A floating cover, the picture that I showed in the previous slide is that type, but the kind we'll mostly be focusing on is the tube type, mainly because they have the lowest costs typically. So there have been programs for development of these in a few places in Africa, and one of the best documented in a paper by Sissoko et al. Describes the National Biogas Program of Senegal, where beginning in 2009, they undertook to promote and subsidize construction of these fixed dome digesters. And they initially had a target of 8,000 digesters, and they really achieved less than 10% of their target in that time period. And even in that point, 30% of the digesters were not in use at the end by 2015. So they learned from that phase 1 and undertook a phase 2, where with about $18 million, mostly provided by various donors, they were able to include an 80% cost subsidy to the farmers. With a target of 10,000, they achieved nearly 40% of that. And this was targeted to rural areas. Beneficiaries had to own at least 6 livestock. And typically, historically, biogas digesters have used animal manure, dung, as the feedstock. That's another change that I'm sort of trying to promote. Most of the householders and the people who were engaging in this didn't know anything about biodigesters to begin with. So there's the need for an education component. But the education component that they had, the promotion campaigns were carried out in French, which is one of the national languages, but in the rural areas, many people do not speak French. So again, the need for interdisciplinary, STEAM-focused collaboration to be able to ensure that there's not just the science and the engineering, but also that it will be uptaken by people readily. In terms of some of the installations we've done, there's an Israeli company called Home Biogas that makes these kits for bag-type digesters. We began with a $900 unit that I set up in Kokrobite, Ghana, in 2017. It worked quite well for a couple of years, and then it kind of, there were failures. We then set up another unit just this past summer in Senegal, a slightly larger unit. And we're currently sort of evaluating its effectiveness. working with a Senegalese family in Hbcu as our collaborator. This was partly funded by HBCU Green Fund that you'll hear about momentarily. And what we've been told is that they're able to, this unit provides about half of their cooking needs currently. So in terms of getting local manufacture, we looked also to entrepreneurs. I collaborated with Moussa Traore of Innovation House Dakar, who had been getting together youth to engage in developing, catalyzing local industry, and using a public domain manual and video on building biogas digesters. They partly crowdfunded, and there was also a contribution from the HBCU Green Fund, built a biogas unit within a matter of weeks from our initial interaction. And that, again, is still being evaluated both for efficiency in biogas production and as a model for building an industry. And finally, I've just mentioned the last part is sort of the basic science piece, where I'm actually trying to engage Atlanta University Center students to address that problem of digesters failing, losing productivity. And there's sort of some basic science there, trying to build computational models of what goes on in the anaerobic digestion system, as well as kits to measure various parameters inside the digesters. But again, this is a project that I hope to expand here in Burkina Faso, as well as having collaborations at CAU in Ghana and Senegal. And we'll see what comes of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And again, if there are questions, I haven't looked at the chat, but I'm sure they're going in. I'm going to make a slight change and go to Dr. Kinslow next. And then I will follow with Elaine Kenny, and then go in that order. So Dr. Kinslow.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anthony Kinslow II. I had planned on sharing one screen, but let's see if it pulls up. So really, purpose here is to just show this screen and then talk a little bit about what I do and why I do it. I am the founder and CEO of Gemini Energy Solutions. And instead of reading my whole bio, I'm going to first start with where I come from. I am a proud alum of North Carolina A&T. I'm a third generation HBCU alum. My mom went to Morgan State and my grandparents went to TSU. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and grew up primarily in Baltimore, Maryland. I completed my undergrad in civil engineering in 2012. Wow, it's been a while now for me. And I went directly into my grad program at Stanford University, where I did my master's and PhD there, focused on energy efficiency analytics. And during that time there, I noticed three major issues that I really wanted to solve after I graduated. First was that there was a high cost to moving into the energy efficiency space, right? High upfront costs in the form of an energy audit, and not a lot of financial solutions for those who wanted to move into that space. So we see this with the solar industry. The vast majority of those who own solar are predominantly affluent white individuals. And I started seeing that we're going down the same pipeline with all other clean energy technologies and even energy efficiency to some extent. The second challenge that I saw was that there's a lack of trained individuals for implementing change, whether that be energy efficiency, upgrading your HVAC unit, all the way to battery storage and solar implementation. There's not enough individuals out there to meet the scale and pace that's required to address the climate change in the 9 years or so that we have left to make some meaningful differences, right? And then the last component of that was the lack of diversity. When I was at Stanford, I was the only Black PhD student in the department. when I graduated from the Civil and Environmental Engineering department, I was the seventh African American to do so in the history of that department. And when I would go to energy efficiency conferences, I would often be one of a few Black or African Americans in the entire conference. And so I realized that these challenges of cost, of lack of trained individuals, and of diversity, all were interconnected, and I wanted to address them all at the same time. And doing so, I created Gemini Energy Solutions, which we leverage technology to address these issues in the form of using technology to implement and create investment-grade energy audits for small commercial buildings. Now, for those who aren't aware of what an energy audit fully entails, it is 3 parts: data collection, data analysis, and then providing a report. And those 3 components make up an energy audit. And I'll stop sharing right now. Excuse me. There we go. And the challenge here is that trained individuals are required to conduct the data analysis and a report writing up until now, which means that an energy audit, which is the first step, whether you want to do energy efficiency, whether you want to do solar implementation or battery storage in a building management systems, all of that requires an energy audit first. But to conduct an energy audit is thousands of dollars, depending on the size of the building, could be tens of thousands of dollars. And so what we have is small business owners, small commercial buildings, and HBCUs. This is a cost barrier that is preventing their access to the clean energy economy, to decarbonization, and towards electrification. And so what we've done is we've automated the analysis and report writing components of an energy audit. Whereas we can hire and train anybody anywhere to do the data collection, and the technology automatically analyzes the information that was collected and produces a report for the customer. This is addressing the cost barrier. By now, we offer energy audits as low as $500. We are drastically removing that bottleneck of lack of individuals trained. And we are also increasing diversity, because all these barriers that you all are aware of money, access, information, et cetera, that so often is disadvantaging those who look like us, are removed. And so why does this matter to the HBCU community? I think fundamentally is there's an opportunity for HBCUs to be the leaders in this. There's an opportunity for HBCUs across the country to be the catalyst for the communities that they are residing in, a catalyst for clean energy, getting those, not just the students, not just the faculty and administrators, but the individuals around in the surrounding neighborhoods, access to actually see what that is. When you say an induction stove, induction stove, what does that mean? I've never seen that. I've never had to use that. Why should I pay all this money to get it? Or why should I even consider it in the first place? Solar, that's for rich people, right? Like being able to have access and experience and be able to normalize it within our communities is going to be vital for accelerating our transition. And I see HBCUs as critical to that. Second, and more from a business standpoint, is HBCUs need to save money wherever we can, right? We're not like the Stanfords or the Harvards that have billions of dollars of endowments that we can just draw upon at any given moment. And we are losing money every day on wasted energy, on energy that is polluting our neighborhoods worst, and are causing climate disasters that are impacting us first and worst. And so not only is it from a environmental standpoint, social standpoint, but also from a business standpoint, that HBCUs can greatly benefit to transition into a clean energy economy. But it all starts with the energy audit. It all starts with understanding what is happening within those buildings and where the energy saving opportunities are, and having a financial analysis to determine what is the best cost-effective measures to implement. I'll end with this. A Stanford professor from 20, 30 years ago that I heard about from another PhD colleague at the time used to compare buildings to bodies, right? The structure was the bones. The HVAC system was the lungs and in your veins and things, right? The building envelope was your skin. And what most of our buildings are right now is a body without a brain, right? There's no management system that's, for the most part, that is telling us when something's about to go wrong, when energy is being wasted or not being used, right? And so there's also opportunities here to interact with our buildings in a smart way, so that they are not just passive entities, but buildings that can further education, that can further health, and can reduce costs. And so I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kinslow. And next, I will have Elaine Kenny from the HBCU Green Fund. It's been mentioned a couple of times.
Hi, guys. So my name is Elaine Kenny. I am one of the managing directors for the HBCU Green Fund. Largely what we do is help to implement large-scale sustainability projects at HBCUs, and to basically kind of bridge the gap between HBCUs and the existing knowledge on campus and the knowledge of things like solar, things like energy audits, things like new technologies that folks on campus may not necessarily be aware of or feel confident making a decision about. So for us, it's about being a resource for our community, a community that we are a part of. I'm an alum of Howard University and spent a considerable amount of time in their Office of Sustainability, working on different projects. And one of the things that we tried to bring to Howard a lot, but that we had a lot of struggle with and eventually accomplished, was bringing solar. And it happened, but what we noticed is it wasn't happening across the nation, wasn't happening at every HBCU, which it should be. So as HBCU Green Fund, we looked and we said, well, how can we help bring solar to HBCUs in a way that we know is efficient, in a way that we know helps support those institutions and the communities and works best for them? So we took a partner in doing this. The partner is Energia, and essentially what they do is help finance large-scale solar. So it sounded like a beautiful partnership for us. And so the objective, so the project we created is called Solarize HBCUs. And the main objective, as you see here, is basically to get HBCUs greener, saving them energy-related expenses, reducing their emissions, and then also introducing the solar industry, the market around renewable energy, to the student body early, as opposed to you getting out of school and then getting interested in trying to find a job in this industry. You're already ingratiated. You already know how it works, and you've seen it happen on your campus. So by and large, the program areas are pretty straightforward. So you have what Anthony spoke to, which is like your energy audit, your analysis. Can this actually work? What needs to happen in order to make this work? The thing that makes this project unique is that having Energy as a partner, they're a huge entity that can help do all of these components and pull them together with ease, as compared to, in most situations, you find you kind of have to piecemeal. You have to find one company or one person to do this part, and then a person to do that part. And coordinating it is incredibly difficult, hard to manage. And a lot of HBCUs don't end up pursuing solar because of this. So we've kind of truncated that, put all of that in one place. In addition to having the management, having the support for the actual system and solar development, we at the Green Fund are able to help kind of bring educational opportunity, right? So it's not just putting solar on your campus, it's how does that influence and impact the students, the faculty, the staff, the people on that campus, right? How do we educate them? How do we expose them? How do we give them opportunities? How do we give internships? Things like that. And so that was the basis for how we were building the concept around solarized HBCUs. And the biggest bonus of having Energia as a partner is that Energia has a very unique platform. Energia offers basically crowdfunding for financing large-scale solar projects, which is incredibly unique, and it presents an opportunity that HBCUs and the larger Black community has never really had. Right? When you think about solar, there's always some kind of mysterious entity somewhere off down the line who actually owns the solar. And usually our campuses receive the benefit of reduced cost, but we don't actually have ownership stake in the project. With Energia as a partner, we eliminate that. You can invest in a large-scale solar project with as little as $100. What that provides is access and opportunity to even just the average person in the Black community to be a part of clean energy, a part of the clean energy economy, and on the receiving end, right? So by and large, when we do huge projects like this at HBCUs, we're not the ones who receive the most profit. We receive some benefit, we see some reduction, but we're usually like lowest on the total pole in terms of who benefits, right? Whereas this is designed for the people to benefit, to be the people who are actually receiving these services. So it's not just solar's going up on, HBCU X's campus, it's going up on their campus. The students are going to be engaged and involved with making this project happen. And if they so choose, they can invest and actually own the project and actually receive a return on that project, which is very new and unique. And for us, it was really the cornerstone of how do we move our institutions to a place where we have autonomy, where we have the reins on our future when it comes to energy, on our future when it comes to our management of our campuses, and knowing that we're doing the right thing and the best thing for ourselves and our community. And then how do we translate this, right? So not to just do a great thing on one campus, one school, but to do something great that we can teach to others and make it accessible. And so that's the biggest component for us, is educating faculty, staff, students, and the larger community. And for us, the way that we do that is by having an educational series. For our biggest focus was, how do we make it accessible, particularly in a post-COVID world, right, where everyone's at home, you don't know where folks are in the world. Can we make this something that you could learn anytime, anywhere? And so what we're doing is putting together effectively a lecture series that will teach students, faculty, staff, and anyone who's interested, even alumni, about the process of renewable energy and the business, how to understand it, what the components are, what your areas or points of entry might be, right? If you're a business major, you're not necessarily going to be interested in the energy side or the science side, but there's room for you here. And this educational series gives students the access and the opportunity to understand that, and it puts it in the palm of their hand. So it'll be optimized for mobile. It's recorded and accessible at any time. So you're really taking a huge leap into a clean energy future, as opposed to kind of small steps, which we have taken in the past. And with that, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Elaine. And next we have Dr. Amita from Spelman College, and I'm going to murder her last name, so I'm going to ask you if you would share your name, and I'm going to keep practicing. Next time we do this, I will have it. You're on mute.
I said, no problem. I know my last name is long. My last name is Zobarkana. I try to share the screen. So, okay, I guess it's better.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. That's it. Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Armita Davarkana. I'm assistant professor of Department of Environmental and Health Science program at Spelman. Actually, I was a member of Spelman back to 2015 as an adjunct professor. And at that time, I was teaching several co-courses in both earth science, environmental science at Georgia State University and Emory, and during summer I teaching at Morehouse. But from 2020, I can say I just stay at Spelman. Since I have a multidisciplinary background, I got my BS in chemistry, and after that I got my master degree in geology, focusing on hard rock petrology and geochemistry. And then I continue my study towards getting my PhD in geoscience, focusing GIS. Right now I'm teaching a couple core courses, introductory and basically the upper level, introductory like environmental science, geology, landform, and weather and climate. And the upper level that I'm teaching at Spelman College is the GIS, and sustainable development and industrial ecology, and we're offering new course next semester, sustainable energy, relevant to the topic of today's discussion. Basically, my expertise in two different areas, geoscience and GIS. In fact, my research interest I can sit on the intersection of two different fields. But in the other words, I'm just a data modeler. I do the two different type of modeling, spatial temporal modeling or geospatial modeling using GIS, and also I do the semantic modeling by developing ontology. I know it's not relevant to our topic, but I wanted just if you are interested in some geology study. As you know, as a geologist, I really like to working on the different geologic features, fault and fracture system, volcanic eruption. And I studied one of my interest area to study is Rocky Mountain. You know, Western United States, how it's beautiful, how all the geologic setting is well exposed. Basically, when I was at Georgia State University, we offered field camp, geologic field camp during summer, introductory and advanced level. Duration was like about 6 weeks. And at that time, beside teaching, I was working on one project that I did I studied in the spatial distribution of the all geologic feature along and along a Snake River Plain. So there's my past work and publication that I did. Of course, I studied on the two different geologic events. One of them was a tectonic event based in Ridge Province. Another one is the thermal introducing event, Yellowstone hotspot. And this is the way that I created map of the study area using ArcGIS, and you can see the fault. Two different colors shows you the two different fault and fracture systems developed by two different events, tectonic and thermal introduced events. Of course, the majority of you just fly above the Western United States. That's basically is it basin and range provenance. But back to 17 million years ago, Northern American start extension, and to do the extending the North American plate, we had a formation of the set of normal faulting. This is the all parallel like your fingers, if you want to just see. And this is the way that I map it in the real field. You can see the trend, majority of fault, normal fault created by the basin and ridge is the orientation is like a northeast, southwest. And of course, some of the faults reactivated by some earthquakes. You can see the one example here, the Burra Peak earthquake reactivated one of the oldest basin and ridge fault at that area. And after that, I studied at the same time back to like a 16.6 million years ago, Yellowstone hotspot started to erupt. Here you can see the initiation of Yellowstone in the border of Oregon, Nevada, and Idaho. And after that, you can see the apparent movement of a Yellowstone hotspot, or the other voice, the southwesterly movement of North American plate produced some calderas along a Snake River as Yellowstone hotspot erupted. And after that, I just mapped the all eruption. You can see the legend on the right side represents the formation of each caldera at a certain time. And then the apparent movement of Yellowstone hotspot create a new set of normal faulting that was basically oblique or at high angle with the previous or pre-existing basin and ridge. Here you can see the one example of the normal fault created by Yellowstone hotspot. That's exactly like the oblique of the pre-existing basin and ridge. But different type of statistical methods basically applied to just investigate the geologic setting and the spatial distribution of all geologic feature. The reason that I mentioned that I want to see how I just focus on geologic problem, of course, as you all of you familiar with the GI science, you can just use GIS in your field. It doesn't matter what type of data have. As soon as you can just use it and map it in ArcGIS, you can use it. Here you can see the some information about the field. Of course, validation of my data completed by field work. I went to the fork and make sure that all data that are accurate from the different websites like a USGS and the other organization basically is correct and I'm doing the right thing. And so this is the way that this is for the complexity I made work the different subsystem. The set of application based the set of the spatial analysis method that I use in ArcGIS environment. You can see here I did the fractal analysis in MATLAB. Avocado is a code that apply in MATLAB, and after you can calculate and measure anisotropy of your data in the different field. Let me just say, I know we don't have time. This is, and after that, it's back to the pandemic, and they started working for the, working on the special distribution of COVID. And this is my previous work, the group of my graduate student at Georgia State University, they worked. I put this back to 2020. They collected data from the two different states. They wanted to have a comparison of the data in Georgia and New York. And they just working on the different components and elements. As you can see, the age trace, basically leadership, and income, some factors that they study. Of course, at that time, we didn't have enough data. Right now, we have more and we can complete this. And they found the specific location of the Georgia back to the southwest of Georgia and southeast of New York shows the highest rate of COVID because due to some fact, the age of people and income of them. And the other project that I've already started and is ongoing.
I'm breaking in a bit because we have only 5 minutes remaining, and I
okay. So I'm gonna just make it just mention about the latest one, and this is one that we're doing. We just do the contamination sort in the urban setting, much the Atlanta metropolitan area. Of course, Proctor Creek is one of the the hottest spot that we work at. The other things that probably we can just do collaboration together, but is it the knowledge modeling that I do it? I'm working on the 17 United Nations Sustainable Goal, but I'm making ontology. Ontology, the semantic modeling of the knowledge of your field. And basically I model the knowledge of the field in the machine readable, processable, and basically this is the way that I can work. I have some examples. I know we don't have time. Maybe next time I can just, if you are interested, you can just send me email and we can talk more. Sorry, it was long.
No worries. And do put, I would like everyone to put their contact information in the chat.
Sure, absolutely.
I did want to come back together. I'm seeing too many people I know faces, so I'm not going to recognize folks. I would get in trouble. First of all, from the panelists, I think that for the audience, the way in which all of these panelists connect in one panel may or may not be obvious. But a connecting thread for myself is that I, with the HBCU Green Fund, work with and connect through all of them. Dr. Amida is a point faculty person for an Energy Fellows project that is kicking off this fall. We will encourage our 6 Atlanta University Center fellows to actually take her course. So that will help to populate her energy course in the spring. Dr. Paget with his globe, we are attaching that to a micro weather station project that Dr. Williams kind of came up with. And so we're globally trying to connect people throughout the diaspora to globe. And with Dr. Kinslow, of course, we have been beating the drum for energy audits for HBCUs for at least a decade. And partnering will be able to actually make that happen. Dr. Williams, we can't move forward without, it's that thinking between Dr. Paget, Williams, all these, the doctors, and Elaine, of course, being there to make it all make sense is helpful. So I don't know, I'm gonna look at the chat again to make sure I don't miss a question. So Dr. Edith Davis is on. And so Edith, do you have a question or comment? Unmute
I thought that it was excellent. I mean, I loved every presentation was just wonderful because I'm a nerd. But anyway, I was wondering as I looked at, I think it was Dr. Miriam Williams. Dr. Williams, your presentation, you showed a facility in Africa, and I thought I saw mega batteries they call BESS, BESS, and then I wanted to check with, I think it was the professor from Stanford. I'm trying to think. I went to Stanford as well. I wanted to know, did you know about the BESS program, the battery energy storage system, which basically, I guess, a lot of the billionaires have invested in this program?
So Dr. Kinslow, and then Edith, that's Dr. Myron Williams in
Okay, Myron Williams, yes. I
who-
thought I saw that. I thought I saw those storage batteries in that picture.
So Dr. Kinslow first, and then we'll come to Dr. Williams, and then we'll be close to closing out.
I'll be short. I'm not familiar with that. I actually am arguing for not using batteries, but using electric vehicles as batteries through bidirectional charging. So we have dual use.
These are not that kind of batteries. These are battery energy storage facilities. These are like
Dr. David,
these are like
Dr. David,
trucks.
Dr. Davis, we're not going to journey down the path.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And I think the Hbcu facility you were referring to is actually it's an area view of a German waste processing plant. It wasn't in Africa.
Oh, okay, all right.
So,
I got you.
So just to wrap up, I think we're right on time. First of all, I want to thank our panelists. I think that each presentation was, only the tip of their iceberg, and that's probably a poor choice, but just a nugget out of what they might share more broadly. I want to make sure that everyone completes the exit survey that will enable us to do more in the future. I want to thank all of the attendees for coming to this particular session. I want to encourage you to stay for the next session. And again, thank you, Dr. Paget with HBCU Globe, which is off the chart. We're taking it across the country, getting certainly our communities on board with Globe and GIS and geoscience. Thank you, Dr. Amita. I still have to call you. I just can't get all those other letters together and out of my mouth. Thank you and you brought geoscience to the fore in this workshop, so I love you for that.
Thank you.
Dr. Williams, you are our North Star, so thank you. Dr. Kinslow, we're getting ready to do great work together. And Elaine, excellent presentation. I think you broke down solarized HBCUs for everybody on this particular session. And with that, we're kind of out. Thank you, Marnell and DeMarcus for keeping us live. And thank you, Dr. Gerald, for being there. You're also our center. So thank everybody, and we're out.